What's up, guys? Nuance Bro checking in, and today we're going to be talking about a story out of Texas where a Texas elementary school speech pathologist was fired for refusing to sign a pro-Israel oath. So this is a story covered by Glenn Greenwald of The Intercept, and he says here, a children's speech pathologist who has worked for the last 9 years with developmentally disabled, autistic, and speech-impaired elementary school students in Austin, Texas, has been told that she can no longer work with the public school district after she refused to sign an oath vowing that she does not and will not engage in a boycott of Israel or otherwise take any action that is intended to inflict economic harm on that foreign nation. A lawsuit on her behalf was filed early Monday morning in a federal court in the Western District of Texas, alleging a violation of her First Amendment right of free speech. Now, the children's speech pathologist who is featured in this video is Miss Bahia Amawi, and The Intercept did a little short video on her and her case, so let's take a look.
I'm a speech-language pathologist. I have been contracting with Pflugerville Independent School District for about 9 years now. What was unique about my position was that I spoke Arabic, so we were able to correctly evaluate kids who came in with Arabic as a language. I love my job a lot. I've always wanted to be in a job that was in the service field because I know I'm making a difference. This year, I got a new contract with new compliances, and I came across one that shocked me. The point of boycotting any products that supports Israel is to put pressure on the Israeli government to change its treatment, the inhumane treatment of the Palestinian people. Having grown up as a Palestinian, I know firsthand the oppression and the struggle that Palestinians face on a daily basis. I have to set an example for my kids. We got to stand up for what's the justice and for right and equal opportunity for everybody and humane conditions. And so for me, it was an easy decision in that aspect. I could not sign it. I was forced to depart from my job because I will not sign it, and I cannot return back if I don't sign it.
So as you saw in the video, she talked about how she had a contract that was always renewed every single year, and that this time the language is a little bit different. So let's see the language that was now included in her contract that she wasn't willing to sign. Pursuant to Section 2270.001 of Texas Government Code, the contractor affirms that it, 1, does not currently boycott Israel, and 2, will not boycott Israel during the term of the contract. Pursuant to Section 2270.001 of Texas Government Code, 1, boycott Israel means refusing to deal with, terminating business activities with, or otherwise taking any action that is intended to penalize, inflict economic harm on, or limit commercial relations specifically with Israel, or with a person or entity doing business in Israel or in an Israeli-controlled territory, but does not include an action made for ordinary business purposes. And 2, company means a for-profit sole proprietorship, organization, association, corporation, partnership, joint venture, limited partnership, limited liability partnership, or any limited liability company, including wholly owned subsidiary, majority owned subsidiary, parent company, or affiliate of those entities or business associations that exist to make a profit. Now, I'm opposed to this for 2 reasons. One is it's clearly unconstitutional. The Supreme Court's been clear in a multitude of cases that boycotts are protected First Amendment speech. For example, in the case of NAACP versus Claiborne Hardware Company, where in 1966, African Americans in Claiborne County, Mississippi participated in a sustained boycott of white-owned businesses, hoping to put pressure on local government and business leaders to meet their 19 demands for racial justice. Justice Stevens, who wrote the decision, said, "The petitioners certainly foresaw and directly intended that the merchants would sustain economic injury as a result of their campaign." Stevens wrote that the African-American boycotters sought to vindicate rights of equality and of freedom that lie at the heart of the 14th Amendment itself. And he concluded in his decision that this boycott was entitled to even greater protection compared to some other cases that involved businesses, for example, trying to crowd out competition. Now, as you can see, one of the big problems here is that this specific law, as I just read it, targets sole proprietorship. So it's not just corporations or, big business or anything like that. It's not like Lockheed Martin or any of these companies. It's individuals like this woman who's a speech pathologist who's had her contract renewed every single year, no problem. But as an individual, it requires that, as a sole proprietor, which basically means her as an individual, she has to make this pledge that she won't boycott Israel, which is totally within her right to do. It's protected First Amendment speech to boycott whatever you want, pretty much. Now, that right's certainly not unlimited. For example, if she was doing her job and then, let's say, an Israeli student came in and she's like, no, I'm not going to offer my services for that Israeli student, then she can't do that. Then you're actually discriminating against a person while doing your job for the school. The school's hiring you to do a job, and if you're not doing that job, then of course you can be fired. But they're talking about even in her own personal life. If she goes to the grocery store and she chooses to buy one brand of hummus that's not Israeli made compared to one that is Israeli made, and she's actively choosing not to buy the Israeli hummus, then she's violated that pledge and she can actually be fired for that. Now, aside from the constitutional matter, which I think is pretty clear cut, the second point is I just think pledges of this sort of nature are unnecessary and just pretty strange, to be honest. You're asking a person or company a very specific request not to boycott a foreign country. And it's just strange because we don't have any of these kinds of pledges for countries like the UK, Canada, Germany, any country in Africa or any country in Asia. It's this one specific country where they actually have this requirement or they have this pledge. In fact, Texas is not the only state to have this kind of law in effect. In fact, a majority of states, 26 in total, have some variation of this anti-BDS Israel boycott law. And some of the actions that have been taken in the name of this law have just been kind of crazy. For example, in this Washington Post article, it says, "This Texas town offers hurricane relief if your politics are right." So in this case, after Hurricane Harvey struck the Texas coastline, there was a city called Dickinson, Texas, located about 30 miles southeast of Houston. But on the relief application form, it includes a provision where applicants have to promise not to boycott Israel. Now, as you might imagine, a form of pledge/loyalty oath involving a foreign country as a condition to receive relief aid after a hurricane didn't sit too well with most folks. But eventually, Dickinson, the city involved, backtracked on the Israel clause, and they got rid of it, and then the aid got to the people it needed to get to. But you could imagine it caused a bit of a stir. But when it comes to these laws, there's so much hypocrisy sometimes. For example, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, he actually signed the first in the nation executive order directing divestment of public funds supporting BDS campaigns against Israel. So he signed a version of this boycott law via executive order because he didn't have enough votes to get it through the normal process. But it's ironic that he would pass some sort of boycott legislation protecting a foreign country when he himself actually directed his government to actually boycott an American state, North Carolina. I think Glenn Greenwald actually says it best in this clip.
And the point I was making about New York and other states is that at the same time that, for example, Governor Cuomo ordered a boycott or barred a boycott of Israel, 2 months earlier, he ordered his state employees to boycott North Carolina in protest of an anti-LGBT law that state had adopted. So in Andrew Cuomo's worldview and the worldview of Texas, you're allowed to boycott other American states and harm American businesses and be employed. You're just not allowed to harm or boycott this one foreign country, Israel. You can boycott Canada or Russia or anybody else. It's just special protection for Israel that not even American businesses enjoy. That's what makes it so shocking.
I also remember the case of the mayor of Boston boycotting Chick-fil-A, not just by not, being a patron to the business, but actually legally preventing them from coming into the city. And all because he disagreed with their positions on things like gay marriage, for example. So when it comes to boycotting American businesses, apparently that's totally fine. When it comes to boycotting American states, apparently that's totally fine. You don't have to sign any loyalty pledges, any loyalty oaths to those states. But when it comes to this one specific country, being Israel, apparently if you want to have any relationship with the government as far as a contractor or a business, then you have to sign this loyalty oath in a majority of states. And at the same time, you have Governor Andrew Cuomo of New York banning state employees from traveling to North Carolina, effectively boycotting American businesses and the American state, while simultaneously circumventing the legislative process and passing an executive order that bans boycotts of Israel for state contractors. That's not only crazy, but you're literally putting the interests of a foreign nation ahead of America. You're putting special interests ahead of American interests. Now, I gotta be honest, as an advocate for free speech, that's why I'm covering this story. I believe in free speech, but some of the other people who, I guess they call themselves like free speech warriors or free speech advocates, I've seen a lot of them silent on this issue. And I'm guessing because it has to do with Israel and maybe there's like this Muslim Palestinian woman, and for whatever reason, they feel kind of weird if anything has to sort of tangentially be related. If anything sort of tangentially related to Israel, they just avoid it automatically, even if it involves some principle they believe in, like free speech. And I just got to say, I'm kind of disappointed in those people because they're staying silent on this issue when on almost every other free speech issue, they voiced their opinion. But on this one, I got to say I was disappointed at how quiet some people were. But anyways, that's the end of the video, guys. Let me know what you think. Do you agree with me? Disagree with me? I mean, to be honest, it's kind of separate from the whole Palestinian-Israeli issue. This is really just at the core of it, it's a free speech issue and an American sovereignty issue, really. Do you agree with me? Disagree with me? Leave your comments down below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Social media links are in the description box below, as well as merch. And I'll see you next time, bro.